Now today we're going to have a look at cutting self-adhesive vinyl. Now the self-adhesive vinyl is available in a gloss finish, which is shiny, and then it's also available in a matte finish, which is dull. Now both of these are available in a wide range of colors, and they consist of a top layer, which is the vinyl itself, and then a paper backing. Now I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks on how to cut the vinyl and then how to transfer it onto whatever you would like to decorate. The self-adhesive vinyl is also available in two other variants. The first one is what they call a repositionable vinyl, and then the second one is a glass etch vinyl. Now I'm going to show you later in the video how to work with both of these, but the same principles that I'm going to use to cut the regular self-adhesive vinyl will apply to these two variants as well. The self-adhesive vinyl can be applied to a variety of different surfaces. So you can apply to glass, you can apply to ceramic, to wood, to hard plastics, and even to paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I cut the vinyl and how I applied it to these paper tags that I had cut, and then I'll show you some other ideas afterwards as well. Now just before I go and cut the vinyl to decorate this tag with, I want to show you where I got my tags from. So I went into the ScanNCut patterns, chose that group there, and then you have a variety of different tags that you could cut. So I simply selected the one that I wanted, and then I rearranged the sizes so I could make smaller ones, bigger ones, ones in between, all different sizes. So what I normally do is I cut a whole lot at once and then I keep them so that when I need to decorate something or personalize one, then I have them already pre-cut. Now I'm ready to select the designs that I want to cut from my self-adhesive vinyl. The first one that I would like to cut is from the category with all the words, and I know it's in that category. And now what I'm going to do is they are arranged in alphabetical order, so all I'm going to do is scroll down until I find my word girl, and there it is, so I select it. Now I also know that that size that's there is way too big for my gift tag, so I am just going to go and make that a lot smaller, and I'm going to shrink it right down until it is 50 millimeters wide. So now I'm happy with that size, so I just select set. Now I need to add the pattern that I would like to cut with the word. So I select from the pattern group, and I know that it's in this group here, and I also know that the design that I would like is in that group there. So I'm just going to scroll down until I find the one that I want, and that happens to be it there. So that as well I know is going to be way too big for my tag, so I'm going to reduce that size to 33 millimeters. Say OK, choose the variation that I want, set, and there I have both designs on my screen. Now what I need to do is I need to load my vinyl onto my cutting mat, and then I'm going to scan the mat to show me where the vinyl is, and then I'm going to drag and drop those designs onto the vinyl that's on the mat. So here I have my self-adhesive vinyl loaded onto the mat. So I stuck that down nice and firmly using my little felt squeegee. And then the next thing that I need to do is just ask the machine to scan this mat so that I can see where the vinyl is, so that I can drag and drop my designs onto the vinyl. So all I need to do is press the scan button and then press start. So now the machine has scanned the vinyl and I can actually see it on the screen there. So I'm going to bring the machine forward to show you how I drag and drop the designs onto the vinyl. So here I can see my piece of vinyl as it is set out on the mat. Now what I need to do is drag and drop my designs onto the vinyl so that the machine can cut them for me. So if I take the little design and I drag it across, I can see that it's a bit of a problem because I can't see too well because this background is being displayed as a very dark image. But it's not a problem. We just go into our settings and change the background from dark to light. So we say OK, and now I can quite clearly see where my design is. Then I'm going to take the second piece and move that across. Now if this is a little bit too small for you to see nicely, and just bear in mind that these are very small designs that I'm going to be cutting, but I can go in to edit, go to the magnifying glass, and then I can see a bigger version of it. I can in fact zoom in right up to 400% if I wanted, but the 200% is good enough. So now we have the option of either dragging and dropping using our stylus, or we can also use the little arrows to either go up, down, or left or right. So I'll just move the little design up a bit as well, and just remember, don't go too close to your edges. So that's perfect as it is now. So I say OK. So now we'll exit the zoom mode, and now we're going to say OK, because the next thing that it's going to do is it's going to ask us what we would like to do with this design. So I say I would like to cut. Now as far as the cutting goes, this is the self-adhesive vinyl, and all that I want to do is cut through the vinyl. I don't want to cut through the back. So this paper mustn't be cut, it must just be the vinyl that must get cut. So I need to ensure that this half cut function is on. Now I'm going to show you where you can go and change it. If you go into the settings, you'll see that it takes you down to what says half cut. Now currently it is set to on, which is what I want, but if I needed to turn it off, it's as simple as touching on to turn it on, off to turn it off. So it just toggles between the two. The other thing that I want to point out here is my cut pressure. Now the default is auto, but I know that with the self-adhesive vinyl, I turn my cut pressure, or my half cut pressure at least, onto 2. Now the reason for that is that my blade that's in my machine has been in there for a very long time, so it's not cutting as sharply as it used to. So all I do is I just increase the pressure a little bit, because it's still perfectly fine for everything else. So that is why you have the facility to be able to change your pressure as well. So I've just changed that a little bit. But what we are going to do is, once we've set all of that, we are always going to do a test cut first to check that that pressure is in fact okay. So we will touch the test button, and now it gives us the option of either cutting the little block, but you can go in here and you can choose a triangle or any other shape that you prefer, but I'm going to just leave it on the default block, and I'm going to say start. So now what's going to happen is the machine is going to first cut that little block, and then I will just hook it out to check that it has cut the vinyl without cutting the paper, and then once that's done, then I can just go ahead and tell it to cut the rest of the design. So now I'm ready to start the cutting, so I press start. So the machine calibrates itself, measures the thickness, and cuts. So now my test piece has been cut. So all I'm going to do is take my little hook from the hook and spatula set, and then I'm going to just hook that little test piece out to check that it has cut perfectly. So there I've just pulled that off and I can see it's cut it absolutely perfectly. So it's cut just through the vinyl and not through the paper as well. So now that I'm happy that that's a perfect cut, all that I need to do is tell the machine to continue cutting. I could opt to test again so that if the pressure wasn't right, so say for example I could see that it hadn't cut it cleanly enough, I could adjust the pressure. But since I'm happy now that it's cut it perfectly, I'll just press start and it will continue to cut the rest of the design. And you'll see there's a progress bar that will tell you how long the design will take. So now that it's finished, I just click finish, and then what I'm going to do is click unload the mat, and I'll take the mat out, and then I'm going to show you in the next step how to take the design off and attach it to that card. So now I'm ready to remove all the excess vinyl from around the designs, because I want to just have the word and that little design left on my piece of backing paper. So I take the little hook from the hook and spatula set, and then all you do is you hook one of the little corners up, and then you pull that excess away from the design. So now I have only the design left on that backing paper. So this I can throw into the bin. But just what I want to show you very quickly is that on the last one that I cut like this, I had that little piece that was left open. So what I did was I took some other little designs and I dragged and dropped them in to that space so that I didn't waste that piece of vinyl that I'm now going to be throwing into the bin. So you can always use up every last little scrap of your vinyl. Now inside this design there are little pieces that are still left that must come out. So all I'm going to do is take my little hook and I'm going to just hook the little pieces out that must come out. So we'll just hook those quickly. So let's put it so that you can see what I'm doing. So you just hook and pull those little bits up and then just discard those. There's a little piece inside here, and then there's a little piece inside the design itself. Now I always keep a bin right next to me so that I can drop all the little bits straight into it so there's no mess left afterwards. Another little tip, when you're weeding lots and lots of little pieces, this design hasn't got too many little pieces, but with a design that's got lots of pieces, what I do is I just lift them and pop them anywhere on the mat. So just pull that little bit out there, and then afterwards I just go and I lift them all with my spatula, and then I pop them into the bin, and then it just makes it that much easier. Right, so there I have everything now done. So now I'm ready to take the design from the mat and put it onto my card. Now you'll notice that I leave the backing paper stuck on my mat. I just find that it's easier to do it this way because then nothing moves while I'm busy weeding, and it also helps me in the next step that I'm going to do, which is to take this all off, put it onto a piece of transfer paper, and then transfer it. So let's go to that step. Now the next step in the process is to transfer this design onto a piece of transfer tape or transfer paper. So what I've done is I've got a big roll of the transfer tape, and I have cut myself a piece that's just big enough to transfer those little designs. So I'm going to now place that over the first parts of the design, because I don't want them put onto my tag exactly as they are laid out here. I want to be able to arrange them as I would like. So I'm going to first transfer the word girl. So I've put my transfer tape over that, and now what I'm going to do is I take the spatula that comes with the machine, and then I'm going to just rub over that word. So just rub nice and firmly. And now this is just to make sure that that vinyl is going to stick onto the transfer tape. Because the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to lift the transfer tape, and now it's going to pull that entire word off, and there it is on the transfer tape. So now I'm ready to go and put that onto my card. Once I've done that, I'll use the same piece of transfer tape again to transfer that little design. So let's take our card and we put that down, and now you can decide how you want to arrange these on your card. So I quite like that, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it down, and then just gently now, not too hard, just rub over the vinyl itself so that it now sticks onto the card. Then we are going to just lift the transfer tape, and we're going to pull that off gently, and if you find it hasn't stuck properly, just quickly rub it again, and then we're going to pull that off, and then it will leave that whole design or that whole word on the card. So there it is. Then what I do is I just take my little felt squeegee and I give it just a little rub, and now it is firmly stuck down. So now what I need to do is go and fetch the rest of the design. So I'm going to use that same piece of transfer tape, because this tape can be used over and over again, and eventually when it does lose its stickiness, then you can just discard it. So I'm going to pop that over my design, take my spatula that came with the ScanNCut, and I'm going to rub. Now once I'm happy that it is stuck onto the transfer tape, I'm then going to go and just lift that. So I lift my tape, and then it will pull the design off of the paper. So there it is. So there's my entire design on the transfer tape, and now I can go and pop that onto my card. So then I can decide exactly what position I want to have it in, put it down, take the spatula, just rub over the design, and then once you're happy that it's stuck down, you're going to just lift that transfer tape and pull that off of the card, and there you have your tag done. So what I do now is I take this piece of transfer tape and then I just stick it back onto my roll so that I can use it again for another small design. Take the squeegee, rub it over just to make sure it's nice and stuck, and there you have it. So there I have a little tag, all beautifully decorated with the self-adhesive gloss vinyl. So over here I had done a similar thing also with the gloss vinyl, and then with this one I took the matte grey vinyl and did that on the pink. So you can create all sorts of lovely things using your self-adhesive vinyl and embellishing either paper. You can embellish glass, and I'm going to show you some ceramics in a moment. So there are all sorts of things that you can do using your vinyl. Just another quick tip, those little hearts that I'd cut out of the piece that was going to end up in the bin, I just keep them handy in a little wallet, because then if I need to have something extra to fill in on designs, like for example with that word congrats, I just took a little heart and popped it into there. So I could quite easily do the same here and perhaps pop a heart in there or a heart in here. So this is just to show you that you don't have to waste any of your vinyl. Now once you're finished transferring all of your bits from your piece of backing paper, just take your little spatula and then lift that backing paper, and then you can discard that. Now you may have noticed that my mat is very well used, but what I like to do is in between cuts, for example, if I've done a couple of layers of the vinyl on the mat, what I do is I just take one of these baby wipes, and make sure that you use the baby wipe that is fragrance free and alcohol free, and then just take that and rub your mat nicely just to give it a clean. Leave it open for about 15 minutes to air dry, because then the tackiness comes back again, and then once it's air dried, always remember to replace your protective covering so that no dust gets onto your cutting mat. And if you look after your cutting mats, they can last you a really long time. Here I have a selection of mugs that I have decorated with self-adhesive vinyl. The two mugs on the extreme right have been decorated with matte vinyl, and then the three on the left I have attached gloss vinyl. Now there are a couple of things that you need to know about if you're going to be using self-adhesive vinyl on mugs, particularly if you're going to be drinking out of those mugs, or in other words, putting warm liquids into the mugs. There are different qualities or grades of vinyl that are available, and the vinyl that I have used here is the top grade vinyl. Now this is a vinyl that is guaranteed to last for up to 7 years. So in other words, it would normally be applied to glass doors and things like that, and it will be able to last for 7 years. So having said that, it will last a good long time on a mug as well, but only if you hand wash that mug. Do not put the mug into a dishwasher, because the vinyl may not be able to withstand the heat as well as the detergent. So it's always advisable, if you're going to use it as a drinking mug that you put vinyl onto, that you hand wash it. The other thing about mugs that are going to be used for drinking out of, make sure that your design is at least 2 to 3 centimeters below the top edge of the mug. In other words, it mustn't come into contact with your mouth while you're busy drinking out of it. So those are the important things about mugs, and particularly mugs that you're going to be using as functional mugs that you will drink out of. However, you can also use your mugs for decorative purposes. So you could use it as a stationery holder or a toothbrush holder. So anything like that, it would be absolutely fine to use it for that purpose, and it will last and probably until the mug breaks. But basically those are the important things that you need to know about mugs and self-adhesive vinyl. Now here I also have a sample of a glass jar that I attached the vinyl to, and here once again I used matte vinyl. So you can attach this to glass, to ceramic, to paper, to wood, literally to anything that is a hard surface, including hard plastic as well as perspex. So experiment and have fun with self-adhesive vinyl. Here I have a design that I cut using the glass etch vinyl that I referred to in the first video. So this is also a self-adhesive vinyl, but instead of it having a matte or a gloss color finish, it has a glass etch finish. So it looks as if the glass has been sandblasted or etched. So you would cut your design from the vinyl in exactly the same way as I did with the other self-adhesive vinyl. Then you would put your transfer tape over the top of that, rub it with your spatula, and then lift the design off of the paper backing. So there I have the entire design now on my transfer tape. Then it would also just be a matter of attaching this wherever it needed to go. So for example, if I wanted to put it on the side of this glass jar, I would then just position it, and this is how you would have done the mugs as well, and then just rub, and you can use your spatula or you can use your squeegee, and then you would just simply peel the transfer paper off, and there you have your design on the side of the glass jar. Just remember that before you put your designs onto glass, you need to clean the glass, and what I do is I wash it in warm soapy water, and then I take white vinegar, spirit vinegar, and then I wipe that with a soft cloth just to remove any soap residue. So that is how you would use your vinyl that looks like etched glass. So you can use that obviously on glass. You can also use it on metal. You can also use it on perspex and all of the other places that you can use the ordinary self-adhesive vinyl. You can use it in those same places too. So here I've just decorated a jar, and then it had a metal lid, which I also just made the design a little bit smaller. Now all of these designs on all of these projects are already built in on the ScanNCut. So I just took, in this case, a border, and then I added the word T, I grouped them together, and I cut that out. So you can experiment and have fun with the glass etch vinyl and all those built-in designs on the ScanNCut. Just another little tip, what I often do is I'll cut out several designs at once. Like for example, this would be a beautiful design for a glass vase. So I've kept this so that one day when I need it, I've already got it pre-cut, because often you are in a hurry to make a gift and then you don't remember all the beautiful designs that are available, whereas if you see them and you cut them, what you can do is you just store them in a wallet. So what I've done is I've got several of these plastic wallets, and then I just label them with my Brother labeling machine, and I say self-adhesive vinyl, etched glass vinyl, and then I put all of my offcuts as well as my pre-cut designs go inside this wallet so that I always know where they are. Now we're going to take a look at the other type of self-adhesive vinyl that I referred to in the first video, and that is the repositionable vinyl. Now it only comes in white, and you would use it in the instance where you wanted to do, for example, some glass etching, or if you wanted to create stencils. Because you can reposition it and move it around, it's ideal for both applications. So let's have a look at the glass etching application. The first thing that you would do is you would cut your design on your ScanNCut in exactly the same way as you cut the normal self-adhesive vinyl. You would still place your piece of transfer tape over the top. You would then remove it from the paper backing, and then you would take this and place it on your glass where you would like to do your glass etching. So I would just pop it down over there, and now in this case you just smooth it down firmly with your fingers, and then just make sure that it is firmly smoothed down, particularly around the edges where the cream is going to be going. So make sure it's nice and firmly pressed down, and then you can remove the transfer tape. Now once you've removed the transfer tape, take it and put it back onto the paper backing, because you're going to need both of these pieces again just now. Now once that's all in place and done, just also once again, as I say, make sure particularly along the edges where you're going to be applying the cream, that the vinyl is pressed firmly onto the glass, because you don't want any of the etching cream to get in underneath any of those little areas, because what will happen next is we're going to take the glass etching cream and we're going to paint that on, and that'll be left for a little while, and all the instructions are on the actual glass etching cream bottle, so just follow those to the T. So once the developing time has elapsed, you're going to then remove the excess glass etching cream, and then this glass will be washed in warm soapy water. Once it's dry, you're going to go and fetch your piece of transfer tape, and you're going to pop it over that vinyl, and then you're going to just take your spatula and just lift the edge of the vinyl just to get it loosened from the glass, and then you're going to peel it off, and there it is back on the transfer paper. So we'll pop that, or the transfer tape at least, and then we'll pop it back onto its paper backing. So now we can use this same piece of repositional vinyl over and over again, because it is repositionable. Now what would have happened is, where the glass etching cream had come in contact with the glass, this will be permanently etched. So it's unlike the etching vinyl, which you could remove if you wanted to. With the etching cream, it's a permanent etch because it's etched into the glass. Now there are lots of applications where sometimes it might be better to use etching cream as opposed to the etch vinyl, so you can decide, because now you know that you have the option. Now these little glasses I use on the table at Christmas time with little tea lights in them, because they look very pretty. So there are lots of other examples that I've done with glass etching, and I'll put the links to those into the video as well.